Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome to our special series on Divorce Insights. These are conversations with America's leading divorce attorneys and professionals. I'm Mark Imperial. For many couples, divorce can be the biggest decision of their lives. As you may imagine, for those who may be facing divorce for the first time, this can also be an incredibly stressful time as well. The mission in this series is to shed light on the divorce process, from your rights and obligations to your options and opportunities. That's what we'll discuss today with my guest, Cristi McMurdie. She's an attorney, mediator, professional coach, and founder of McMurdie Law, based in Tempe, Arizona. Cristi, welcome to the program.
Thank you. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. Great to hear from you and great to have you on the program. Tell us, Cristi, tell us about McMurdie Law and the type of clients that you help.
Okay. Well, I've been practicing exclusively in Arizona for more than 20 years. I'm a graduate from ASU Law School, College of Law, and in 1992. So I've been practicing ever since then, and we're in 2019. So that means I've been practicing for 27 years. Oh, Lord, where did the time go?
Yeah, so tell us, Cristi, what are some of the biggest challenges that you hear most often coming to your office?
Well, most people are terrified of what can happen when they get sort of enmeshed into the system, because it's a slippery slope, and once somebody files, then the court takes over your case and you're stuck with going to hearings that the court will set, and it seems like people lose their power and control that they want in their own case. And it gets to be a slippery slope where fees are accruing and people don't really understand all that's going on. And so I think that my approach is to keep my clients powered in the process, so they know what's going on. They get to choose what the next step is. My job for them is to let them know when there are moments that are ripe for discussing settlement options, and to guide them through the process and let them have some choice as we go along.
Yeah, I noticed that you have several distinctions as an attorney, a mediator, and also a professional coach. Can you kind of explain how those all work? Are they separate functions or do they work together?
They work together beautifully. When you get mediation training, there's a little parcel of it that's coaching, because you have to use business and life coaching at times during mediation. And I already had my entire certification from the Adler School of Professional Coaching, and I sat for an all-day exam after doing all of their training, which took about 2 years. And so that has augmented my mediation practice really well, and I use it a lot when I represent clients too. A lot of people that are going through these major life changes need to focus on not what they're losing, but what opportunity they have to rebuild and sort of redesign their new life.
I see. So, yeah, as you mentioned, when somebody, this could be an overwhelming topic and there's nobody knows like the first place to turn or what to expect. What do you feel is like the biggest fear that people have about even beginning this process?
I think, like I said, people are terrified about losing so much control and getting into that. It's like a big snowball rolling downhill that they can't, seem to control at a certain point. And the main thing, if they have children, they're afraid of losing time with their children. And if they don't have children, they're afraid of losing some of the hard-earned assets that they've worked so hard to acquire.
So when folks come to see you, do you feel like they've done a bunch of research and maybe have some misinformation? There's so much information out there. And what do you feel is like the biggest myth or misconception that people might have about the divorce process?
Well, what's happening these days is people have become very savvy because there's so much available on the internet. And so people usually come to me after doing a great deal of research on the internet. And even then, though, there is a lack of understanding for how the process really works and how long it really takes, and the posturing that can happen. Those things aren't explained that well. Black letter law is explained, but the kind of nuancy things that I can share with clients isn't something you just pick up on the internet. So what I'm saying is people are very savvy today, and they know how to choose. Luckily for me, I have some really good Yelp reviews, and so I'm about 1 out of 4 of my clients now are coming from the internet, from their searches. It used to be all referral based, but because people really like to use Yelp and see what people's reviews are, about 1 out of 4 now are coming to me from the internet searches that they're doing. So that's a shift that's happened in the last 2 to 3 years.
That's exactly how we found you, Cristi. I mean, you had a very impressive and overwhelming positive reviews online. That's exactly how we found you. And I got to say, I don't see many folks really paying that much attention to that, but that is exactly how people find you. So when people do find you that way, you know, how do they assure their success? Are there folks that come to you and maybe be doing things that may sabotage their success with their divorce?
Again, this is a case-by-case situation. I think I can't just do a blanket, yes, people do this, or no, people fail to do that. What I do see, though, is that oftentimes people create a crisis or a catalyst in order to cause a split when they've been thinking about it for a long time and they just haven't gone and done any planning. And so what I want to say to everyone is that it's okay to plan to leave. It's okay, just like kids going to college, you plan for them to leave, you set money aside. That can be done in divorce if people wouldn't have such a negative approach to it. I'm a big proponent of pre-planning. And a lot of people that think that it's faux pas to get divorced, or it's against their religion, or it's against their social mores, they won't deal with it until there's a crisis to justify it so that they can tell the world that it was okay for them to split. And then you're left with this horrible rife or this crisis that they've created when, if they would have faced it earlier and come to the table with someone like me to help them pre-plan, they wouldn't be dealing with a crisis. They'd be dealing with really reasonable and authentic planning.
Yeah,
that will help both parties.
To add to that, is there a such thing as a stress-free divorce?
Yes, I have done a few of those, and it's usually people where there's a balance of power between the parties. They're usually it's both parties are employed. So they have a stream of income that they both can trust, so they're not afraid of losing security. And they have an open enough dialogue, and they're okay enough with the concept of divorce that they've actually dealt with it with each other. Sometimes these are people that have gone to counseling many times, and so they've learned to use the languaging that you learn when you're in counseling, and they use that in their communication with each other. And that's when it's stress-free. And that doesn't happen very often. I help people with that. I help people learn languaging and words that will help them in negotiating even after I'm gone. If people are co-parents, I like to help them with learning how to negotiate in a co-parenting way that will sustain the relationship rather than cause it to fray over time. Yeah, so it does happen once in a great while. People can go through a stress-free divorce if they've planned and they have that kind of relationship. They're rare, though, I will say. It's very rare.
That makes sense. Cristi, what inspired you to get into family law to begin with?
Well, it's a true confession here. I had been through a divorce myself when I was practicing insurance defense law. First couple of 3 years of my practice as an attorney, I was doing insurance defense work, and we did it ourselves. We did it ourselves because my ex-husband is also an attorney, and I had taken every family law class at ASU because I knew I was going to be probably looking at a divorce. And so I had already been through it, but then a colleague of mine said, hey, I was going out on my own because I was divorced. I needed more time and I needed to make more money. And I had this propensity for family law because I had taken all these classes while I was in law school. And I'm naturally compassionate, and I enjoy working with people because, let's face it, they're the most complex creatures on the planet. And so I will tell you, I don't get bored with family law. It's not boring because people are so interesting, right? People are so unique and interesting. And so it ended up being a good fit for me to gravitate into that, but it was mainly because I was creating my own solo practice, and family law was the best area to get into for me to do that. And it just happened to be a good fit over time. It doesn't mean I haven't tried to change it up and tweak it and do better. And, after the first year of litigation in family law, I said, oh my gosh, there has to be a better way than this. And I found mediation and I got trained in it, and I've been offering it as an adjunct service to my McMurdie law practice ever since. So I've always tried to make it better and more palatable for people and add to my skill set. About 3 years ago, I became a collaborative lawyer, and I helped found a group in Phoenix called the Collaborative Professionals of Phoenix, where you create a team at the very beginning of the case that includes 2 lawyers who are trained and certified in collaborative law. Most of them are mediators as well. And then you bring in certified professionals that you need on your team, like a family coach therapist or a certified financial planner who's collaboratively trained. And you have full team meetings together, and you sign a participation agreement at the very beginning of the case stating that we are not going to court in this case, and we're going to settle all issues at the table. And here in Arizona, we can file a notice with the court so they won't set any hearings. And then we have full team meetings that we schedule out, and everybody knows everything that's going on in the case. So collectively, we have about 100 years of experience at the table of professionalism to support this family that you're taking through a divorce. And I can't think of a better service to offer than collaborative law. I'm very proud of it. It's some of the best work I've done in my entire career, being on a collaborative team.
Wow. When I started this series on Divorce Insights, I knew there was a lot of information that was lacking out there, and everything I learn brings up more and more questions. So I see that this is a topic that really needs advocates to go out and educate the public on this. So this is terrific, and I really appreciate you sharing with our listeners today.
You're absolutely welcome. It's my pleasure.
Cristi, can you share a lesson that you learned early on that still impacts how you work today?
Yes. I've got 2 lessons. The first one is that when everybody's going crazy and they're overreacting to things, one of the best things to do is to go silent and let it die instead of overreacting. A lot of attorneys send off these steamy letters to each other, letting off steam and blaming and all this stuff. I found that a good technique sometimes, if it's getting out of control, is just to step out of the sandbox for a few minutes.
Wow.
And that has an impact.
That's sage advice.
Yeah, I use it a lot. It does work. There's a time to respond, and there's a time where you can ignore it for a few days or even weeks. So another technique I learned is that if the other lawyer will not talk to me because I'm trying to settle the case and they don't want to yet because they want to make more money on it, sometimes what I do is I then train my client on how to take the place that they're at to negotiate with the other party and circumvent their lawyer who's getting in the way of settlement. I shouldn't probably be feeling this on the air. People in Phoenix are going to be mad at me.
Everybody, you're polarizing as a truth teller.
Yeah, we might want to cut this part out.
Right on. So Cristi, for our listeners out there, if they're near Tempe or any area that you service, how can someone find out more about you and connect with you and McMurdie Law?
Oh, they can go to my website, which is McMurdieLaw.com, McMurdie law.com. We are refreshing my website, and we're going to launch the refreshed website in about a week. New photos, a lot of the same content, but it's just a better platform, and we're just refreshing it. So.
Oh, that sounds terrific. The one I saw looked beautiful, so it could only be better than that. I'm really going to be impressed.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very impressed with all the education and the case studies and a lot of great learning at your website. So, Cristi, thank you so much for taking the time to share with our listeners today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you so much. I look forward to helping anyone that either looks at my website or calls in at 480-777-5500.
That's terrific, Cristi. Thanks so much. I'm Mark Imperial, and this is the program spotlighting noteworthy professionals, experts, and business owners from around the world and in your town. If you know a great business or professional that we should feature on the program, I'd like to hear from you. You could nominate them by emailing me at radio@markimperial.com. Once again, that's radio@markimperial.com. In this next segment, our home stretch, I've got a special treat for you. If you're a business owner or professional, or if you aspire to be one, for over 7 years, I've been interviewing leading experts and business celebrities and sharing their secrets to success with you. From my first show, Entrepreneur's Edge, to Game Changers Radio, to Mad Rocket Business, all the way to Remarkable Radio and this program today, in this home stretch, I'm bringing you a flashback to one of my most popular episodes, covering how to attract clients magnetically using only the power of words and without costly branding. So enjoy this very special edition home stretch, and here we go.
Now, get the edge. Here are Mark and Tom.
Hey, welcome to the show. It's Mark Imperial, another power thinking hour here at Entrepreneur's Edge.
Mark, this is Tom Rebar, and it is time for all the capitalists and all of the entrepreneurs and the self-employed people and the professionals in private practice and all the sales and marketing pros to come out of the woodwork and put their feet up and join together and learn for an hour.
That's right. So welcome back, everybody. And we've got a terrific show. We're recapping a fantastic week that we had here at Entrepreneur's Edge. We just had our Entrepreneur's Edge live event last Wednesday, and boy, it was a hoot. The party was jumping. I'm telling you, they almost had to kick us out of that hotel.
They did, and there's nothing like talking about advertising and copywriting that gets people out of their chairs, because once you start talking about that, people realize that even if you thought you knew everything there was to know about it, you realize there's more to learn and more to still learn.
Yeah, the place was absolutely on fire. We had Conrad Hall and Ken Schreiber join us in speaking on copywriting and writing the words that sell your business. What better way to get to the bullet points of that than to recap what we talked about at Wednesday's event?
Go for it.
And you know what? In fact, if you missed it, you really missed a hugely valuable opportunity to boost your response. Because I'm talking about, we talked about headlines and postcard and copy that got 4 to 5 times the response of another control. So that's a 400 to 500% increase by just changing the words on the paper. How many folks don't think about that?
A whole bunch.
So we started out, one of our guest speakers, Ken Schreiber, he was talking about lead generation and the minute differences about generating leads with your copy as opposed to like using sales conversion. Now, one of the key points and takeaways he talked about, he started out, check this out. The first thing he said when he got up on the stage is he said, "Who here wants a surefire way to get new customers or prospects without any marketing cost?" And all the hands went up, right?
Mine went up.
Yeah.
I was the first one.
Now, guess what? He says that was the first lesson in lead generation. You are trying to identify exactly with the person what is it that they want. So if you have the right market, the right list, and then you give them that question, who wants this solution? And you're talking directly at a person, and they raise their hand and identify. That is it. That's as simple as that. And then you make them an offer that they just can't refuse.
Because all you want is to find out who those people are who are willing to raise their hand.
Yeah, and you could adapt that into any business type that you can. Now look at this. Another key is speaking directly at that target person. If you get a list, if you're doing a mailing, a postcard mailing, and you know who that customer is you're looking for, you identify it and you speak directly at their problems. You have to identify, and we talked about this. I call it the hidden benefit, because you have to think about your customer and think of all the problems that they have in their lives, because what you are is you're a problem solver. That brings up another point. A lot of business owners, a lot of businesses out there, they make the mistake, and we had some folks talk about this in the room as well. I say, what is your ad about? What was the message you put in your marketing? And they said, well, a discount, a discount or percentage off. And the reality is that they're trying to sell their product directly. And we say that kind of hurts your response, because when you try to sell your product directly, the only people that are responding are those that are ready to buy like your widget or your thing right now.
At that immediate point in time.
So it's about transcending timing. So we're going to be back after this break and continue, because we've got a lot of nuggets that came out of that event on writing words that sell. BusinessEdgeRadio.com. Go to the website, get our free gift, and we'll be right back after this.
Stay with us.
Business owners and entrepreneurs. Once again, here's Mark and Tom.
Hey, welcome back to your Power Thinking Hour for entrepreneurs and business owners. It's Mark Imperial.
This is Tom Rebar. Hey, Mark, let's go back to that, the story you were telling right before the break about the person who was going for the jugular and trying to make the big sale right out of the gate. Let's try to make sure we bring the loop fully closed there. What do you do to get around that?
Well, let's see. As I mentioned, a lot of business owners, they think, they're not, they're in the mindset of, I got to sell my thing. So they're focused on, how can I sell my thing? Let me present my product or my service, and let me give a discount or a coupon. That's like the knee-jerk reaction to what they're offering.
And then when people don't buy, right away they think, my price is still too high, so they get into this headset of, now I got a further discount.
Yeah, they're focusing on the wrong thing, and it's because they get a low response rate. But our answer to that, what we know from testing, is that the low response rate is because you're not transcending timing. You're making an offer for people that are ready to buy right that minute. But then when somebody is in the buying cycle, but they're not just quite ready to buy yet, and maybe a month down the road, they forgot all about you. You're only picking up the immediate buyers. You have to find a way to transcend the timing, and we do that with lead generation.
And it has nothing to do with price.
That's right.
Get price out of your head, that it's not that your price is too high.
That's often the last thing to even consider is the price. I mean, the example that I'm going to give you and for the listeners is we had a terrific home remodeling company in the audience and asked us, how do we directly link what we're talking about here at the event to his type of business? I said, is there a business that feels like they don't know how to link this lead generation strategy to theirs? And then he raised his hand and he said, home remodeling. What do I do? And I said, what are you doing currently to get your business? He said, I did a mailing. What was the offer on the mailing? It was a discount of some sort. And we told him the same thing. You're selling a discount. You're only going to pick up the buyers ready to buy now. And then he said, well, what's the alternative? Well, the alternative is you want to find people that may not just be thinking about buying right now, but maybe they're already in their head. You know what? 6 months from now, a year from now, I know I'm going to have a move. How are you going to get those people to identify themselves so you can continue to stay in front of them? Well, we said, why don't you offer a report called, the 7 deadly traps and how to avoid them, how to save blah, blah, blah on your remodeling costs, how to get how to remodel your kitchen, your home or whatever, and save the maximum. 7 deadly traps, a report that is going to be useful to that prospect. That way, even if it's 6 months or a year from now that they're thinking about the move, they still want that free report. That little trick alone increases the response 4 or 5 times.
Easily. And you could tell that this fella, because I was sitting across the room from him, he had a big smile on his face as soon as you started to unveil that story, because you could tell right away he got it. Mm-hmm. And head kind of went back into oh, that makes sense right away to him. So
that's right.
He was a very smart person.
Yeah. So, back to the list of what Ken Schreiber was speaking about. He's, another nugget was speak directly at him. Who is it that you're mailing to and what is their direct problem? The next point is everyone's favorite radio station besides WIND is WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Exactly.
So that, literally the headline or the message that you put on your mailing pieces has to address directly at them because it has to pass that test. Conrad Hall mentioned this, the so what test. You read your headline, whatever you consider your headline, and run it through your own head and say, okay, I read something and so what? Is it going to make you say so what, or is it going to intrigue you to read further?
Well, in fact, he even suggests to do that for every one of your bullets. When you put the bullet there, just read it out loud and say, now, so what? What is that person going to answer if they read it and you say, so what, to give yourself a chance to substantiate that bullet in your head?
Yes, that's right.
Is it a worthy bullet?
Yep. And, I have a litmus test actually for you. Let's first of all, let's wrap up with what Conrad was talking about before we even go into the litmus test on headlines. But, Conrad has a great description for copywriting. He said it's the art of using words to create action. Now, think about that. The art of using words to create action. How many folks really think of their advertising in that way? The most of the time I see people doing an advertisement, it's like the name of their company or their logo. How does that create any action?
One of the best testimonials for last night was I brought my assistant along to your summit. He is just beginning to think about the art of copywriting. And when we left, he said that was one of the best meetings he's ever been to. And he got more notes in a short period of time about how to write copy than he ever thought he would by coming along last night.
It's incredible. And, a lot of the stuff that, many of our pros in Mastermind, for example, we take it for granted because we've been so immersed in this kind of marketing, but it's eye-opening for many. For example, one of the keys, the big keys that was huge for everyone in the room was when Ken Schreiber described, and remember the headline, who else here wants to know how to acquire new customers and prospects without any acquisition cost? Right. Now, how do you do it without acquisition cost? Well, if you were at the summit, I don't have enough time in the next 4 minutes to tell you, but you can do, it was a brilliant strategy he had about liquidating your marketing costs. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be at Entrepreneur's Edge live events. And these are the kind of things that we talk about. So, this is probably the best time ever to give a plug for the next live event. Make sure you go to Business Edge Live or businessedgeradio.com, click on the live events tab, and you're going to find the next meeting in Madison, the next meeting in Green Bay, and the next meeting in Oak Brook. Hey, we've only got about a minute here, and I want to talk about one bullet. I have about 12 here.
Go ahead.
But let's talk about the headline, because what is the headline? The headline of your ad is the ad for your ad. Does that make sense? And what is the only job of the headline?
The only job of the headline is to shout it out and get somebody to be interested in taking the next step, which is to read what else is there.
Read the next line, absolutely. And it's the most valuable real estate on your ad or your postcard or your mailing. And what do most companies inadvertently waste in that space? What do they do in that space instead?
How many people put the name of their company or their logo up at the top of the ad or the top of their website, and then they wonder why nobody's reading it? It's because they never had a headline there.
Hey, in the wrap-up, I'm going to give my litmus test for great headlines for all the listeners. After the break, Tom Apicella from Think Spaces in Naperville, Illinois, will be joining us to give us his tips, tricks, and secrets for furnishing your office. We'll be right back. BusinessEdgeRadio.com.
We'll be here. Stay with us. BusinessEdgeRadio.com for all the events.
Hey, we're back. It's Mark Imperial.
And this is Tom Rebar. We are in the home stretch again. Mark, I can't believe another week has gone by so fast.
That's right. Hey, we're back here with Tom Apicella from Think Spaces in Naperville, Illinois. Hey, Tom, I wanted to ask you just recently joined our mastermind group here at Entrepreneur's Edge. Can you tell me what drew you to the group and what you're getting out of it so far?
Well, what drew me to the mastermind group is, I want to have other like-minded entrepreneurs and people that I can basically bounce ideas off of, talk about my business to help expand it. Because as a lot of people know, there's a lot of businesses in one business that you can extrapolate from. So just having that, and then it's also, for accountability when you come up with new strategies and ideas, there's some accountability because they're going to ask you, well, what did you do with what you said you were going to do with last month?
Yeah.
And, action is the way to make things happen in business.
That's terrific. And now for the folks listening, whether they're a property manager or a business owner looking to move or improve their spaces, how can they get a hold of you for your information?
You can go to thinkspaces.net and you can fill out one of our interior design contact forms, or there's a phone number on there that you can call, 630-324-4598.
Tom, it was terrific having you on the show. Thank you for coming out today.
Thanks for having me, guys. Enjoy the show.
Terrific. Thank you. Tom, we're on the home stretch now.
We are. I can't believe it.
Now, I promised a litmus test for people to test whether their headlines are any good.
So give them.
All right, here it is. Now, this is sort of like the classified test, if you think of like a classified ad. And what are the classified ads all about? It's usually a small, tiny little ad, right?
Very small.
With just, you don't have enough room to put anything but a blurb and a call to action, a CTA, like a phone number, right?
That's exactly right.
So what you do is you take whatever you think is your headline and then you neuter out everything else and just put your phone number or whatever your response mechanism is under it. And if the two make sense and entice you to move forward, like let me give you an example. What do most people use as their headline that's wrong? And we talk about this a lot. The company name, right?
Name and maybe a logo.
So let's look at the litmus test. A to Z painting, phone number. Now, is that entice you to take any action?
So who'd call with A to Z painting and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9?
That's right. There's no words that cause action. Now, what if the headline, let me think just off of the top of my head here. Let's use an example for a bowling alley, okay? Something weird. Now, what if the headline said how to bowl a 300 every time and then a phone number? Now, that causes you a little bit more enticement to call that number.
Sure
So
would.
there's a difference between that's the litmus test. Take your headline and put just the headline and the phone number or response mechanism. And is that enough to make somebody take some action? That's the litmus test.
Great test.
So that makes every word count.
Hopefully nobody just puts that in an ad, a headline and a phone number. It'd be nice to have a little more copy than that. But I understand what the litmus test is.
Yes, absolutely. So that's what we talked about. And it's about all the time we had to talk about today was headlines, but It's the most important piece. What else do we know about headlines? Headlines are the most important part of the ad. You remember at the event, I gave you 3 headlines that were tested. And I'll tell you what, let's do the test right now. One of the headlines got 5 times the response of the other 2. Was it headline A, I've never been able to get a good portrait of my child until now? Or B, finally a children's portrait worth more than the paper it's printed on? Or C, the best children's portrait at the right price guaranteed? We did this test. People raised their hand. The room was about split, but the answer is B. And again, we said, what's the reason why? Everyone gave reasons that they thought why B won, but the truth is it doesn't matter. You just have to test.
And everybody's afraid to test.
And guess what? They didn't change any other part of the ad.
Customer.
Just the headline.
Hey, go out to businessedgeradio.com. We have Wayne Brightbath coming this next month in March up in Green Bay and Madison. He's going to talk about business use of LinkedIn. Unbelievable ideas, so come and see us.
See you later. Hey, it's Mark Imperial. I hope you enjoyed those highlights. Again, if you know a professional or business that we should feature on the show, you could nominate them by emailing me at radio@markimperial.com. One more time, that's radio@markimperial.com. Until next time, This is Mark Imperial. Make it a remarkable week. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.